Picture this. It's the summer of 1971. A bunch of totally normal college kids sign up for a psychology study. What happens next becomes one of the most famous and, frankly, most disturbing stories in modern science. It's a story all about how shockingly easy it is for good people to do some truly terrible things. Okay, let's get into it. So, let's just start with the big question the whole experiment was trying to figure out. How long does it actually take for a good person to go bad? I mean, what's your guess? A few months? A year? Well, the answer they found is, honestly, it's pretty terrifying. 6 days. That's it. This thing was supposed to run for 2 full weeks, but they had to pull the plug in less than 1. Why? Because the situation had just completely spiraled out of control. The good students had turned into either cruel, sadistic guards or emotionally broken prisoners. Now, this whole thing didn't go down in some real high-security prison. Nope, it was a fake prison built right in the basement of Stanford University's psychology department. And the participants? 24 male college students who had all been specifically screened to make sure they were psychologically healthy, normal guys. This right here, this is the question from the lead researcher, Professor Philip Zimbardo. He wanted to figure something out. Was the famous brutality in American prisons because of the people, the bad apples? Or was it the environment itself, the bad barrel, that was making them that way? So to test this whole idea, he basically engineered a situation designed to do one thing: completely erase who these guys were as individuals and create this massive power imbalance right from the get-go. And the way they did it was, wow, incredibly systematic. The prisoners weren't just told, hey, you're a prisoner now. They were actually surprise arrested at their homes by real cops, stripped of their names, given a number, and forced into these humiliating dress-like smocks with a chain bolted to their ankle, a constant reminder of where they stood. The guards, though, they got all the symbols of power: military-style uniforms, billy clubs, and, this is key, mirrored sunglasses. Total anonymity. There's actually a name for this whole process. It's called Deindividuation. The idea is that when you become just another face in a uniform group, hidden behind those sunglasses, you start to lose your own sense of self. Your personal responsibility kind of just melts away. You don't just play the role anymore, you become the role. So, the stage was set, the simulation kicked off, and the transformation from a simple experiment into a place of genuine psychological abuse, it was unbelievably fast. I mean, just look at this timeline. By day 2, there's a prisoner rebellion that the guards put down by spraying them with fire extinguishers. By day 3, the first student has a full-on emotional breakdown. A day later, guards are making prisoners clean toilets with their bare hands. And by day 5, they're forcing the inmates to chant at another prisoner who's breaking down, yelling, "Prisoner #819 is a bad prisoner." It's just insane. This quote from one of the guards really says it all. He wasn't just acting. He'd internalized this role so deeply that he started seeing his own classmates as cattle. The power of the situation was literally changing the way he saw other human beings. And on the other side of the bars, the prisoners felt completely and utterly trapped. Now, they knew this was an experiment. They knew they could just leave. But the psychological pressure was so real, so intense, that they truly believed they couldn't. The line between the game and reality had just completely dissolved. And here's the thing, it wasn't just the students who got lost in their roles. Zimbardo, the head researcher, wasn't just some objective scientist watching from a distance. He actually cast himself in the experiment as the prison superintendent, which meant that when a student was having a breakdown, his first thought wasn't, I need to stop this. It was, how do I control my prison? For almost 50 years, this was the story we all knew. A powerful situation can turn good people evil. But that's not the whole story. Now, we're gonna get to the twist. And it's a big one, revealed by the experiment's own hidden recordings. Yeah, this classic story of spontaneous cruelty became a legend. It was in every psychology textbook, this huge cautionary tale. But recently, new evidence, actual recordings and interviews from the time, have come out, and they have completely flipped our understanding of what really happened down in that basement. This is a quote from Dave Eshelman. He was the guard they nicknamed John Wayne, the one who was by far the most sadistic of the group. And he later admitted that he wasn't just getting lost in a role, he was consciously acting. He was trying to give the researchers the dramatic results he thought they were looking for. This is a huge problem in scientific research, and it has a name: demand characteristics. It's when people in an experiment pick up on little clues about what the researcher wants to see, and they change how they act to fit those expectations. So it wasn't just the power of the situation, it was the power of trying to please the boss. So let's just break this down side by side. The legend was that all this evil just popped up out of nowhere. The reality? We now know Zimbardo and his team actually coached the guards. They told them they had to make the prisoners feel powerless. The legend was that the situation corrupted these good kids. The reality is that at least some of them were just performing, trying to give the scientists some juicy data. So you might be thinking, okay, if the guards were coached and the whole thing was flawed, does that mean it's all meaningless? Not at all. It just changes the lesson we should take from it. It's a totally fair question. Is this whole famous study just garbage now? And the answer is a definite no. The story is way more complicated, for sure, but the warnings it gives us are maybe even more important today. Let's dig into what we can learn from this messy but still fascinating moment in history. Okay, so what's the new takeaway? First, the system, the bad barrel, is still the problem. It doesn't really matter if the cruelty was spontaneous or encouraged by a boss. The toxic environment is what allowed it to flourish. Second, it shows the incredible power of authority. The guards weren't just conforming to a role, they were conforming to what they thought their professor wanted. Third, the line between acting like a monster and becoming one is razor thin. Even if they were just acting, their actions had very real, very damaging consequences. And finally, on a practical note, this study was so unethical that it forced the entire field of psychology to create much, much stricter rules to protect people in experiments. In the end, Zimbardo himself admitted it. He got so wrapped up in the role he made for himself that he stopped being a scientist. He became a part of the very system he created, kind of proving his own point in the most ironic way possible. So yeah, the experiment was a mess. It was flawed, but that core warning, it still rings true. It kind of forces us to look around and ask ourselves, what systems, what roles, what authorities in our own lives, at work, online, wherever, are pushing us to act in ways we normally wouldn't? What bad barrel might be shaping you? It's definitely something to think about. Hey, thanks for joining me for this explainer. Next time, we are leaving the prison and heading straight into your mind as we decode Freud's id, ego, and superego. I'll see you then.